I started Sonicbids in 2000. Prior to that, I was a talent agent, and I used to get barraged with a ton of press kits from people who were interested in getting booked by us. And at the time, I remember just having an awful hard time taking artists who were making anything under $3,000 or $4,000 a night. Now, if you know artists, I'm sure you don't know anybody who's making $3,000 or $4,000 a night. So I thought, wow, so we have all these people who are interested in getting booked by us, but somehow there's just not an easy way for them to find and connect with promoters. And on the other hand, I felt there's always an audience, there's always a promoter out there who's looking to book these guys. The challenge is for them to find each other. So I thought, what if I created a website that brought these two parties together and helped them connect with one another and do business and transact with each other. So this was the genesis of Sonicbids, and that goes back to 8 years ago. I think, well, the connections between entrepreneurship and music are probably a lot closer than what most people realize. For starters, every artist is an entrepreneur. Every artist has a little business that they run. So the whole concept of starting out and getting an audience is really not that different from starting out and finding a customer. So I've always believed that there's just a ton of parallels between being an artist and trying to develop a career by playing music, and starting out a business and trying to make a living out of selling a product that you've manufactured. I also feel that in today's music industry, with all these different changes that are taking place, there's an unprecedented opportunity out there for people with bright ideas to really take advantage of this disruptive thing that happened, being the internet, to create all kinds of new businesses and business models around this new world order. In terms of learning, I mean, I think you learn from both. You learn from your successes and you learn from your setbacks. I tend to be somebody who always feels that it's kind of hard to know what you're doing wrong. You generally know what you're doing right. So when you find out what you're doing wrong, is always a really valuable lesson. And I think for me, rejection has always been a great fuel. So I've learned a lot by pitching the company early on, be it to customers, be it to investors, and getting rejected, because through that questioning and through their poking holes into my business plan or what I was trying to do, I literally was able to kind of go back to the drawing board and say, okay, how do I address these concerns? If they're out there, they must be real, they must be viable. So in many ways, I feel that through rejection and through setback, I was able to develop a business model that's been far stronger than if I just took rejection to heart, got discouraged by it, and clearly gave up. On the other hand, maybe sometimes people tend to get too focused on what they're not doing right, and they tend to forget why they're being successful. So I've also learned a lot by focusing on things that were working and focusing a lot on our successes. And in many ways, the way that we built Sonicbids and the way that we virally spread the message about what Sonicbids does was a direct result by me paying close attention to marketing concepts that did work, to things that people did respond. So I think that you learn equally from both your successes and your failures as a person running a business. In terms of direction, I feel that the most important direction is to follow your heart. I don't believe, and I've never believed in picking up magazines that say 500 places where you should go into starting a business. I feel that if you start a business because you're looking to make money, you're starting it for all the wrong reasons. Chances are you'll never be able to make money because you're always chasing something that, to be honest with you, is very hard to get in the beginning. So the direction that I would advise anybody to take is find something that you're passionate about. Find something that's meaningful to you. Find something that you're willing to dedicate your heart and soul into. Because from that, you'll find success. There's so many things that get in the way when you start out. There's so many things that can discourage you from pursuing your dream. That if you don't really have a lot of passion into it, if you don't believe in it, if you're not willing to treat it as almost a mission from God, then you'll give up. So the people that tell me that they started businesses because they read that they thought it was a good market to get into, whereas I'm sure they're successful, I personally have found that the most important ingredient and the most important direction that I've ever followed is a direction that my heart told me where to go. And I feel that if you do look into successful entrepreneurs, whether it's people like Richard Branson or people like Steve Jobs or people like Bill Gates, they'll tell you that they did something that they were passionate about, not something that they thought would make them a ton of money. And I have found that that's true for myself.